Let everybody say amen. Say amen again. One more time. Kristen, you seem to do that every time. They know that's my favorite song because it means so much. So, I don't plan to be here long. Uh, if y'all know me, I use the three S's: stand up, speak up, shut up, sit down. So, if you don't mind, I've already did number one. So now it's time for me to speak up. Stand with me. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 32. And we're gonna start reading at verse 24. Now it's gonna be a little bit of a different translation, but if y'all know, God's word still remains the same. Genesis chapter 32, starting at verse 24, reads like this. So Jacob was left alone. A man came and wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he had not prevailed against Jacob, he touched his hip joint, and Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not unless you declare a blessing on me." He asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." And he said, "You shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have wrestled with God and man and prevailed." This morning, I don't have a title for you, but what I will do is I'm going to tell you a story about a friend I know. This friend I know has a problem with overcoming the odds. This friend has a problem with balancing his personal life, his ministry, and his work. Even in the pandemic, some of us still have to go to work. What I notice is that this person and Jacob are one and the same. If you can't take your name out, if you can't take Jacob's name out and put your name in it, you might not be reading the Bible correctly. Because every story should be able to relate to you personally. But I want to talk to him about some things, and like I said, I don't plan to be before you long. And I want to point out some key things. One, this brother has a hard time with balancing certain things. And I got this brother's permission to talk about him because I know him very well. So I'm sitting back and I'm listening to him tell his story. He has a problem with balancing his family, his ministry, and work. It seems to be that in some areas he's missing something. Either he focused too much on work and he misses his family, and he lacks in his ministry. He focuses on his ministry, he lacks in his work and his family, or vice versa. I've noticed that every time he spoke about one thing or another. And I'm sitting back and I'm just listening to him. I'm listening to him, and he's just saying, "I'm suffering. I don't know how to balance it." And I told him, I can't help you with that. I struggle with balancing as well. So we sat back and we tried to figure this thing out. One thing I've noticed is that when we tend to do stuff like that, we tend to forget what God has told us. If you go back a little bit further, Jacob was told to go home. But Jacob tried to outplan God. He went home. He was on his way home, but he said, "Let me see if I send my brother some gifts ahead of me." You do realize that Jacob was going back to a land where he tricked his brother out of some things. So now he had to go back home and face the one brother that he was terrified of. Now, mind you, he had tricked his brother, but he went to Laban, and Laban had did the same thing to him. So now you know how I feel. Side note, be careful how you treat people because it will come back on you. Y'all not hearing me. If you treat somebody wrong, it may not come back to you today. It may not come back to you tomorrow. But when you least expect it, it's going to be that thorn in your... Let me get back. So he was going back, and he was trying to outplan God. So I started talking. I was like, that's where we get into the situation. We try to outplan God. So we're going to say, well, I'm going to set this aside for me. I'm going to set this aside for you. I'm going to set this aside for this. And you can't do that. You got to understand, God's time is never yours. So you better get it while the getting is good. I come back. Hold on. You better get it while you're still alive because you never know when it's your time to go. Y'all worried about corona. Y'all should be worried about going to hell. Because corona is just something that is here. Hell is forever. And if you think it was hot yesterday, as the old preacher would say, I know a place where some of y'all won't get no AC and there's no water. But let me get back to it. So I got sidetracked. If you think about it, if balancing everything, how many of y'all can say that you slacked in balancing? But here's what I found out. If you lack in balancing, all you have to do is remember and ask. Let me say, remember what God promised you and ask him to keep blessing you. Now I like that, because the brother that I'm talking about, he didn't understand it. He was like, well, I have this God-given talent. Okay, but I feel like I'm losing my home life. How do I incorporate it together? I said, for one, you can't. You got to ask God to help you incorporate it. And let me give y'all a side note. The brother that I'm talking to, he's happened to be 31. Good looking brother. Good looking. And I can say that because it's me. So I had to have that one-on-one conversation with myself about balancing, because sometimes I get caught up in doing God's work and neglecting the work that's at my house. Sometimes I get caught up in doing other things and neglecting my family. So if you know, charity starts at home. So I can't stand up here and preach to y'all if I'm not first taking care of my responsibilities at the house. So I had to battle with this thing, and then I had to realize I'm going to have to fight through some pain. Because if you look at it, Jacob was wrestling with this man, and he touched his hip, and his hip was dislocated. But he didn't stop fighting. Y'all should have shouted right there, because some of y'all stop at the first sign of trouble, and then you want to say, well, God, you told me this was going to be easy. He said, no, I didn't. I told you you was going back home to do a great work, but yet and still you want to go back home and make it easy. You're going to have to fight through some pain. You're going to have to fight through some sleepless nights. You're going to have to fight through people not understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And then you're going to have to fight through the unknown. Because sometimes God will tell you to go somewhere and it's unknown why you're there, but you have to trust him. That's where we as human beings and Christians struggle. We think God is supposed to tell us everything. You Bible scholars out there, I want to ask you one question. Where is it in the Bible that God tells you everything that you're going to do in your life? Where is it that he says, oh, I'm going to tell you that tomorrow you're going to get this job? No, he's going to tell you go apply. See, you got to go apply before you can get the job and receive the blessing that he has in store for you. first you got to put some leg work into it. You can't just sit around and expect God to bless you while you sitting idle and waiting. I'm telling y'all, this brother, he had to go back and he had to realize, hey, I can't complain because I'm in this good wrestling match. My hip is dislocated, but I got to keep going. I can't sit down because, can I be real with y'all? I tried to quit. Mia is right there. I tried to quit. I called her and said I quit. You know what she said? I'll see you tomorrow. Surround yourself with people that are willing to encourage you even when you don't feel like moving on. Because guess what? It's going to be that encouragement of somebody that says, hey, brother, keep going. Even when you don't want to. And sometimes we just need to shut up and listen. Because sometimes we overtalk and we overthink things, as Jacob did as he tried to send all those gifts to his brother, not knowing that his brother was more happy to see him than what you thought. His brother was running to greet him instead of hurt him. See, y'all more worried about what other people would do. Just operate in what God has told you to do, and the blessings will come. But I told y'all, I don't plan on being here long. I don't plan on keeping y'all because I had to get something off my chest. And as you can see, my chest is little. So I had to get this off of me because I struggle with balancing. I'm fighting through the pain. But then there's something that's stuck out to me. It goes back to verse 26. The man said, let go, for daybreak is coming. And Jacob said, no. Let me say that again. Jacob said, no, I will not. I'm not letting go until you bless me. How many of y'all missed y'all blessings because y'all let go of some things? God has placed things in front of you, but you're too stubborn and, I almost said something else. You're too stubborn to realize what's in front of you because you're looking at what's behind you. You can't look behind you because there's a story in the Bible of a woman who looked behind her and she turned into y'all know y'all's Bible. Y'all know y'all's Bible. So if you keep looking behind you, don't expect to get gold. Expect some salt. So as I'm going through this, he's saying, no, I will not let go until you bless me. Will not let go until you bless me. I will not let go until you bless me. I'm fighting through this pain because I know I'm supposed to do a great work. I won't let go until you bless me. I didn't ask for this calling, but I know you have a purpose for me to be here today. So I'm going to keep holding on until you bless me. Yes, it's going to be painful. Me and my wife are going to fight a lot. Me and my kids are going to have some arguments to say, Daddy, you need to be at home. But God, I know you got a calling for me, so I got to operate in that so that way I can teach them what it means to serve you. Ooh, that's a tough one. Because sometimes you want to be at home with your kids and neglect what you're supposed to do. Remember, you got to answer for everything that you do on this earth. But then I had to realize I got to keep holding on. I got to keep holding on until my blessing comes. What is my blessing? I don't know, but I got to keep holding on until it get here. Because guess what? I'd rather hold on to a blessing from God than hell from you. So I'm going to keep holding on to my blessing until it get here. I'm going to keep standing up here preaching even when I don't want to. I'm going to keep standing up here praying even when it looks like I should have been sitting at home asleep. I'm going to keep fighting through this because there's some unknown things that you might not know about me, but I'm going to keep on fighting through it. I'm going to keep on fighting through them because I got some kids that look up to me. I got a grandbaby that I got to take care of. I'm going to keep on fighting because there's some people that need me to be a role model. But then I have to have an identity change. If you look at it, he said in verse 28, and your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. Let me give y'all a brief disclaimer of what Jacob means. Not the true meaning, but what I interpreted what it means. You do know Jacob was a trickster. As some of you senior members would say, a jive turkey, a no good brother. Dominique, help me out. What would the new generation say it would be? Don't answer that because your mama looking at you. Don't want to put you on the spot right now. But the new generation got some words that ain't good. And it'll show you what Jacob was. Jacob was the brother that would scam you out of your wallet while you had your hand on it. But in this, he said your name shall no longer be Jacob. So you'll be no longer known for what you used to do. Let me say that again, because that touched me. You'll be no longer known for what you used to do. What you used to do before you got the knowledge of God. What you used to do. But Israel, because you wrestled with man and God. You do realize, like I said, Jacob wrestled with Laban because he wanted to scheme him the way he did his brother. He thought he could. But you got to remember, these old folks got some tricks that we ain't seen before. CJ laughing. CJ, look. Dominique, just remember, what you know, I know more, CJ know more, but we don't know as much as Deacon Marks. You could always learn something, but you got to pick out the good parts to learn. Dominique, quit looking at him. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. We on camera. Leave the boy alone. But think about it. A new name. With your new name comes some new responsibilities. A new walk. A new talk. New study habits. Because for one, you can't know the promises of God until you first know what it says in the book. Whether you read it on a tablet, your phone, where you have the Bible from when you were 7 years old, you have to open it up. And if you ain't open it in a while, get them dust mops out and get an understanding. But you first can't get an understanding without accepting God. So, as I told myself, and for you people that say you talking to yourself, yes, but I did not answer myself. So, you don't have to get me no jacket to put me in and carry me out of here. As I told myself, hey, you got to understand, you're wrestling with God. You wrestle with men. They know your past. And they know that you got some things that you've done that should disqualify you. But boy, they know me by my old name. Y'all missed that. See, once I gave my life to Christ, I got a new name. I got a new walk. So you can remember what I used to do, but you don't know what I do now. That's where I can go back to where I used to hang out, and instead of participate, I can preach Jesus. Ooh. So in that, remember, fighting the balance does not necessarily mean that you lost unless you give up. That's what you have to understand. Nowhere in it did he give up. But there is one more thing that I have to share with you before I sit down. Be prepared for your after. And when I say your after, we're all supposed to be prepared to go to the after where we see Christ. But I'm mentioning the after you receive your blessing. Because everybody gets that one blessing and stop. Oh, no. Once you get your new name changed, there's blessings on top of blessings waiting on you. But if you stop working, you can't receive anything. So, I got a little bit of a challenge because I'm not in the authority to say you have homework. I have a challenge for you. And those of you watching on Facebook, I want you to participate in this challenge too. I want you to find your balance. Find whatever it is that you've been battling with, whether it's work, whether it's family, and it don't have to be your immediate family. It could be that extended family that wants you to travel places, but you got a assignment to do here, and they don't understand what your calling is. See, I'm talking about my calling in ministry, but your calling could just be ushering on Sunday morning. But you don't want to give that up to go hang out at the casino. Can't say amen, say ouch. I know some of y'all was probably there celebrating the 4th. But find your balance. Remember, there's going to be some pain. Remember, you're not going to like what you're going through. But know the blessing is going to come as you persistently fight. And then be ready for the outcome. Because if you're not ready, your blessing could walk right by you. You won't see it. You won't understand why it's moving. All you'll just know is, there it went. And then you'll wonder why you caused, notice I said you caused so much hell in your life. And you want to blame it on Satan. Guess what? He ain't got that much power. Everything that he got to do, he got to get permission to do. Don't believe me? Look at Job. He had to ask permission to attack Job. He had to ask permission to touch his family, touch his house, touch him. And what did God say? Just don't kill him. So we are given tools to use. I'm going to say this. God gave us a brain. He didn't give us a head with empty space in it. As much as you want to use your brain for the world, use it for Christ. You gain more. All right. I told you I wasn't going to be up here long. As we stand, I gave my Easter speech, St. Joyce. I gave my Easter speech. But I want y'all to understand, you got to overcome this. You can't sit idle. Because if you sit idle, there is nothing that's going to come from it except more pain that you're not going to understand why.